the main event.
This is your main event, Mark's Podcast. I am your host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, cat and dog dad, and I will be your guiding light through the darkest of wrestling history. I am Troy. What is up, my guy? What's up, everybody? It is the first official podcast of the year 2026, and, well, so far the year has started out, and, yeah, the year started out. I don't know, like, craziness has happened out in the world. Personally, it's much of the same. You know, it is what it is, man. I don't know what to say. But I hope all of you had a great New Year's. I sat around watching stuff, like, I'm trying to catch up on The Walking Dead, honestly. But we're getting into old school wrestling today. And some of this is older, some of it is newer, and you'll be able to tell once you go through. I, on the YouTube and my Rumble channels, have done this series called The Dark Side of Wrestling History. Most of it has not made its way into podcast land. I did 2 episodes on Vince McMahon, kind of because, I mean, you got to do whole shows on Vince, and I did 2 just on Vince because there was so much to dive into. This has been said repeatedly that Vince McMahon may be the most interesting character in wrestling history. You can argue that certain people are, you know, more prolific in this respect or that respect. There are very few people that are more interesting than Vince. And when I say interesting, I don't mean everything's good or everything's bad. I just mean interesting can mean anything. I mean, you know, Little Mustache Man from World War II was an interesting guy. You know, there are really good people in the world that were interesting guys, you know, but Vince McMahon, good, bad, and indifferent, he never did anything that was boring. Everything he did was noteworthy in some way, shape, or form. And he's not a super public person. Like, that's another thing that makes him interesting. He's always in the public. He was always in the public on camera for most of his adult life. And yet there's not a lot about it. Like, the stuff we really know about him personally is from shoot interviews or just other people shooting the breeze about their experiences with Vince McMahon. But Vince himself isn't really forthcoming about a lot of stuff. Documentaries haven't been made with him there talking about himself. There haven't been movies documenting factual information about him. He's very interesting. Things are pieced together through news stories and shoot interviews and whatever. But obviously, he's persona non grata today because of certain things we learned. It's kind of shocking that it took this long, but whatever. But I did 2 episodes of the actual Dark Side of Wrestling history, coming at it from different angles about him, and then I made it into a podcast. So that's up on, I can't remember what episode it was, early 200s. So go check it out. I don't know, 205, 204, something like that. But I can't look it up right now. But either way, go back in the archives. It's in the audio. But this one is every episode besides that. Altogether, there were 12 episodes I've put up so far on YouTube and Rumble of the Dark Side of Wrestling history, talking about a myriad of things. And people, events, things, whatever. I try to group things together that are like tangentially connected, or they make sense to put them together. The first episode, I did not do that. The first episode was kind of experimental. I enjoyed doing it, so I did more. And so this first episode, you're going to hear, I talk about Jack Pfefer, I talk about the Goldust Trio, I talk about Pat Patterson. Those 3, you can make an argument, it's old school, those are connected, but I also threw in, because I like to do, I try to do 4 subjects per show. So I also threw in Mitsuharu Misawa, because I couldn't think of a 4th old school, whatever, and he's kind of old school, but he's also modern, so yeah, and he has no real deep connections to American wrestling other than inspiring a couple people. But that's episode 1. Episode 2, I go to Mexico. I cover La Parka, the original La Parka, that is. I talk about Antonio Pena's split from CMLL when he formed AAA. I talk about Perro Aguayo Jr. I think those are the only 3 that I got in there. Episode 4, I talk about Ricky Dozan. I talk about Hayabusa, Hana Kimura, and the Yakuza connection to professional wrestling. Because he touched on that a little bit in Dark Side of the Ring, but I wanted to get a little deeper into it. So that's my Japanese episodes. Episode 3, we'll talk about that here on the show. Episode 5, I got into Vern Gagne and AWA's decline. I try to focus mostly on Vern, but, we go into just AWA as a whole because, how can you not? And I also cover the Invasion storyline and why it was a debacle. I talk about the NWO and WWE's failed run. We also had a whole show in the archives. It was a bonus show where we talk about the NWO and WWE, why it was a giant fail. So you can go back and check that out. And also I talk about the Heroes of Wrestling show. If nobody knows what that is, consider yourself lucky. Episode 7, it's all women. I talk about Ashley Massaro, Missy Hyatt, Miss Elizabeth, China. So I cover those 4. And by the way, keep in mind, I try to cover subjects that haven't been done to over and over and over, and haven't been covered in Dark Side of the Ring because I don't want to copy their homework, basically. Some of these have been talked about on Dark Side of the Ring, but not like full episodes yet. So keep that in mind. Episode 8 is a bunch of like kind of non-main eventers, I'll say. They were mid-carders to opening matchers. I've got draws. I've got Bill DeMott, Crash Holly, and Enzo Amore. I just threw them all together because they're like, huh? Like, really? Like they had some dark sides to them, or to their lives, not necessarily them, but to their lives or careers. And I covered that. Episode 9 was main eventers, or top guys, I should say. So I got Psycho Sid, I've got Bret Hart, I've got Steve Austin, and Scott Hall / Razor Ramon. Episode 10 was all about ECW. I've got Perry Saturn, Balls Mahoney, Mike Awesome, and then the Bad Breed of Ian and Axel Rotten. Episode 11 was managers and out-of-the-ring people like bookers and stuff. I threw Bill Watts in there because he became pretty famous as a booker and somebody who ran Mid-South Wrestling after a while. And then obviously he went to WCW. He was in WWF for like a cup of coffee. So I've got Bill Watts. I've got John Laurinaitis, people power. And then, of course, Jim Cornette and Vince Russo. Finally, I have events I cover in the latest episode that I did. I've got Brawl Out, both Brawl Outs from AEW with CM Punk. I've got the 1975 plane crashes, which, yes, there were 2 major plane crashes involving wrestlers and bookers and managers in 1975, and it's a crazy story, but that's in that one. And then I cover the curtain call. So there's 3, but there was a lot to cover. But that's what you can expect on this episode here. We're going to dive into all of it. I'm just going to play them one right after the other. There is music under it to kind of set the tone. That's how it is. But I hope you all enjoy it. And I will wrap things up at the end of the podcast. The Goldust Trio, comprised of dominant World Heavyweight Champion Ed Strangler Lewis, his shrewd manager Billy Sandow, and creative visionary Joseph Toots Mont, revolutionized professional wrestling in the 1920s. Recognizing the legitimate hours-long grappling matches were losing audience interest, they introduced slam-bang Western-style wrestling, which incorporated elements of boxing, Greco-Roman, and freestyle wrestling with theatrical showmanship. They pioneered modern promotional tactics, including time limits, signature maneuvers, ongoing storylines, and the concept of touring with a stable of wrestlers, effectively establishing the first nationwide wrestling promotion. The partnership of the Goldust Trio, despite their immense success, eventually dissolved in 1928 due to a combination of internal power struggles and disagreements. A key factor was a significant disagreement between Toots Mont and Max Baumann, Billy Sandow's brother, leading to a him or me ultimatum from Mont. To Mont's surprise, Sandow chose his brother, leading to Mont's departure from the group. Additionally, Billy Sandow grew frustrated with Ed Lewis's declining conditioning, contributing to their eventual split as well. These internal conflicts, fueled by strong personalities and business disputes, ultimately led to the breakup of the innovative trio. Jack Pfefer was an influential and controversial professional wrestling promoter and booking agent whose career spanned from 1924 to 1969. Starting in the mid-1920s, he gained prominence by promoting Eastern European heavyweights in the U.S. and became a key figure in the powerful New York wrestling scene, even managing the finances and scouting talent for a dominant trust of promoters, the legendary Gold Dust Trio. However, a fallout in the early 1930s led Pfefer to infamously expose professional wrestling as fake to the mainstream press, revealing the predetermined nature of matches and theatrical elements, which earned him a controversial reputation. Despite being ostracized by many in the industry, Pfefer continued to promote for decades, known for his freak characters, such as the Angels, and introducing innovations like midget wrestling and feature tag team bouts. He also helped launch the careers of notable wrestlers like Buddy Rogers and was instrumental in promoting women's wrestling pioneers. His later career saw him booking knockoff wrestlers with names similar to bigger stars, such as Hobo Brazil, Bummy Rogers, and Bruno Sammartino. Pfefer still remains a significant and imaginative figure in wrestling history, leaving behind a vast collection of records now housed at the University of Notre Dame. In 1992, Canadian native wrestling legend Pat Patterson, along with other WWF, now WWE, officials like Terry Garvin and Mel Phillips, was accused of sexual harassment and abuse of underage ring boys. Former ring boy Tom Cole alleged that Patterson groped him and engaged in sexual harassment when he was 14 years old. Another former announcer, Murray Hogson, also brought sexual harassment charges against Patterson. While Patterson initially resigned from the company, he was later rehired after Hogson rescinded his allegations and a private investigation reportedly cleared Patterson. The scandal, which coincided with WWF's steroid trial, significantly damaged the company's reputation and led to dismissal and lawsuits. Patterson's homosexuality has unfortunately led to multiple unsubstantiated accusations to be lobbied against him. For instance, also in 1992, former WWF wrestler superstar Billy Graham publicly claimed on the Phil Donahue Show that he witnessed Patterson assaulting a child. However, Graham later admitted in 2020 that he fabricated those harsh untruths in an attempt to extort money from the company. As far back as in the 1960s, the U.S. Justice Department Immigration and Naturalization Service, INS, pursued a multi-year investigation into Patterson's homosexual activity with the aim of deporting him back to Canada. Documents from the period show that the local police reported his presence at gay parties and bars and that he was known to pick up men. During deportation proceedings in November 1966, Patterson was specifically asked about his effeminacy, dyed hair, whether he was a homosexual, and whether he molested little boys. He was served with a deportation notice in December 1966, though he later became a U.S. citizen in 2002. Patterson's longtime partner was Louis Dondero. Dondero died of a heart attack on June 28, 1998, the same night as King of the Ring. Patterson died of liver failure caused by a blood clot at a Miami, Florida hospital on December 2, 2020, at the age of 79. Mitsuharu Misawa, a legendary figure in Japanese professional wrestling, founded Pro Wrestling Noah in June 2000 following a mass exodus from All Japan Pro Wrestling. As far as the AJPW mass exodus, that took place in May and June of 2000. It saw 24 of the promotion's 26 contracted native wrestlers, led by native and top star Mitsuharu Misawa, departing from All Japan Pro Wrestling to form a new company, Pro Wrestling Noah. This dramatic split was primarily driven by irreconcilable differences between Misawa, who sought to modernize the company and provide better conditions for wrestlers, and Motoko Baba, the widow of AJPW founder Giant Baba. She insisted on maintaining her late husband's more traditional booking philosophy and held significant control over the company's finances. The departure of so many key figures, including the Four Pillars of Heaven, Misawa, Kenta Kobashi, Toshiaki Kawada, and Akira Tao, although Kawada ultimately stayed, severely weakened AJPW and led its longtime broadcaster, Nippon TV, to switch its support and television slot to Misawa's new promotion. As president and the top star of Noah, Misawa continued to wrestle his signature hard-hitting, high-impact style, despite the cumulative toll on his body from decades in the ring. Tragically, on June 13, 2009, during a tag team match in Hiroshima, Misawa collapsed in the ring after taking a backdrop suplex from Akitoshi Saito. He was pronounced dead at the hospital at 46 years old, with his death attributed to spinal damage and the extensive injuries he had accumulated throughout his career, leaving a profound void in the wrestling world. Antonio Peña, a pivotal figure in Mexican lucha libre, left his mark on the industry through his visionary split from CMLL and subsequent founding of AAA. His departure from CMLL in 1992 was driven by a desire to modernize professional wrestling, moving away from CMLL's traditional approach towards a more entertainment-focused product with vibrant characters and a strong emphasis on television. This ideological difference led Peña to secretly negotiate with Televisa, eventually leading to the creation of Asistencia, Asesoría y Administración, or AAA. The formation of AAA was a seismic event in Mexican wrestling. Peña successfully enticed a significant number of CMLL's popular young stars to join the new promotion, including Conan, El Hijo del Santo, and Octagon. This talent migration not only weakened CMLL, but also established AAA as a formidable competitor. AAA launched in May of 1992 and quickly became known for its innovative style, incorporating more Americanized elements, elaborate gimmicks, and character-driven storylines, even experimenting with a hexagonal ring. This fresh approach resonated with audiences and contributed to AAA's rapid ascent in popularity. Tragically, Antonio Peña's influential career was cut short when he passed away on October 5, 2006, due to a massive heart attack at the age of 55. His sudden death left a significant void in AAA, as he had always been the ultimate decision-maker for the promotion. His passing was mourned by the wrestling community, with various promotions, including those in Japan that AAA had collaborated with, paying tribute to his legacy. Peña's impact continues to be felt in lucha libre. He is remembered as a revolutionary promoter who fundamentally changed the landscape of Mexican wrestling, paving the way for a more dynamic and commercially successful product. AAA continues to honor his memory through events like the annual Copa Antonio Peña, a tournament dedicated to his enduring legacy. The feud between the original La Parka, Adolfo Tapia, and AAA is a classic example of intellectual property disputes in professional wrestling, particularly in Mexico, where character rights often belong to the promotion rather than the performer. Adolfo Tapia, performing as La Parka, became one of AAA's most iconic and popular stars in the 1990s. His unique skeleton mask, charismatic dancing, and unpredictable in-ring style made him a fan favorite. His popularity grew even further as he began working for WCW in the United States, where he was a memorable part of their cruiserweight division and the Latino World Order, or LWO. While Tapia was gaining fame in WCW, Antonio Peña, the founder of AAA, owned the rights to the La Parka gimmick in Mexico. As Tapia began working more extensively for WCW and later for independent promotions and AAA's rival, CMLL, Peña decided to introduce a new La Parka to capitalize on the character's popularity. This new La Parka was Jesus Alfonso Escoboza Huerta, initially billed as La Parka Jr. or sometimes La Parka AAA. The real feud began when Adolfo Tapia signed with CMLL in 2003. AAA, under Antonio Peña, took legal action to prevent Tapia from using the La Parka name and skeleton attire in Mexico, asserting their copyright. This forced Tapia to change his name to L.A. Park, short for La Auténtica Park, meaning the authentic park, and slightly alter his gear. This legal battle solidified the two distinct La Parkas in the minds of fans. Despite the legal issues, the idea of the original La Parka, L.A. Park, facing the new La Parka, the AAA version, was a compelling storyline. In 2010, L.A. Park returned to AAA, leading to a highly anticipated feud with AAA's La Parka. This culminated in a high-profile match at Triplemania 18 in 2010, where the stipulation was that the winner would earn the rights to exclusively use the La Parka name. L.A. Park won the match, seemingly reclaiming his original identity. However, AAA, being the rights holder, did not honor the stipulation. The Mexico City Boxing and Wrestling Commission also intervened, effectively throwing out the result and allowing AAA's La Parka to continue using the name. This outcome solidified AAA's control over the character and further fueled the animosity, at least from a storyline perspective, between the two. The feud between the original La Parka, L.A. Park, and AAA's La Parka highlights the complexities of intellectual property in lucha libre. While L.A. Park remains a highly respected and popular luchador known for his unique charisma and hard-hitting style, AAA successfully established their version of La Parka as a top star and a symbol of the promotion for many years. It's also worth noting that the second La Parka, Jesus Alfonso Escoboza Huerta, tragically passed away in 2020 due to complications from an in-ring injury. L.A. Park, out of respect, has publicly stated that he has no intention of reverting to the La Parka name, even though he technically won the rights to it in their Triplemania match. AAA has since introduced a new La Parka, continuing the legacy of the popular character. Pero Aguayo Jr., born Pedro Aguayo Ramirez, was a son of legendary luchador Pero Aguayo Sr. and quickly rose to prominence in Mexican professional wrestling. Debuting at the age of 15 in AAA in 1995, he often teamed with his father, winning the Mexican National Tag Team Championships twice. He was part of the Juniors stable, Los Junior Atomicos, which also included Blue Demon Jr. and La Parca Jr. In 2003, Aguayo Jr. moved to CMLL, AAA's rival promotion. Initially, he was positioned as a fan favorite, but his career truly took off when he turned Rudo, or villain. He became widely known as the leader of the highly successful stable Los Perros del Mal, or the Evil Dogs, which he formed in CMLL in 2004. This group became a major draw, known for their aggressive, brawling style and intense rivalries with top técnicos, or fan favorites, like Místico and Hector Garza. The group's popularity even led Aguayo Jr. to leave CMLL in 2008 to start his own promotion under the Perros del Mal name. In 2010, Aguayo Jr. returned to AAA, bringing his Perros del Mal stable with him. He solidified his status as a top Rudo in AAA, feuding with major stars like La Parca Jr., Cibernetico, Mistezis, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Alberto El Patron. He was a significant box office attraction and was ranked highly among the best singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 2007. Tragically, Pero Aguayo Jr.'s career and life ended on March 21, 2015. He was wrestling a tag team match in Tijuana for the Crash promotion, teaming with Manic against Rey Mysterio Jr. and Extreme Tiger. During the match, following a spot involving Rey Mysterio Jr., Aguayo Jr. sustained a severe injury. He was reportedly drop-kicked towards the ropes, which is a setup for Rey Mysterio's signature 619 move. However, he hit the ropes in a way that caused a cervical spine trauma. Aguayo Jr. was transported to a hospital where he was declared deceased. An autopsy report indicated he suffered fractured C1, C2, and C3 vertebrae in his neck and died from cardiac arrest. The incident was widely reported and sent shockwaves through the wrestling world, expressing grief over the sudden loss of a beloved and influential luchador. He was 35 years old at the time of his death. Born Kim Sin-rak in Japanese-occupied Korea in 1924, Riki Dozan, later Mitsuharu Momota, rose to become a national hero in post-World War II Japan, embodying a much-needed symbol of pride and resilience. Initially a sumo wrestler who achieved the rank of sekiwake, he transitioned to professional wrestling after leaving sumo under ambiguous circumstances. In 1953, Riki Dozan formed the Japanese Pro Wrestling Alliance, JWA, introducing Western-style professional wrestling to Japan. He strategically positioned himself as a patriotic figure, consistently defeating American wrestlers in the ring. These victories were deeply symbolic for a war-weary Japanese populace, with his most famous bout against Lou Thesz in 1957 reportedly drawing an astonishing 70 million television viewers. He achieved widespread fame, securing TV shows and endorsement deals, and was considered one of Japan's most influential figures of the 1950s. By the 1960s, Riki Dozan had amassed immense wealth and power, owning nightclubs, hotels, and various businesses. He was known for his association with Yakuza figures, with some suggesting that he was involved in their dealings. Despite his public image, he led a tumultuous private life marked by a violent temper, heavy drinking, frequent fights, and multiple affairs. While unbeatable in the ring, his reckless lifestyle created numerous enemies outside of it. Riki Dozan's life came to a tragic end on December 15, 1963, at the age of 39. On December 8, 1963, he was stabbed in the abdomen by low-ranking Yakuza member Katsushi Murata during an altercation at a Tokyo nightclub. Despite initially appearing to recover, his disregard for doctor's orders, specifically to avoid alcohol and overexertion, led to an infection and subsequent peritonitis, causing his death. His funeral was attended by over 12,000 fans, marking the end of an era. Katsushi Murata received a 7-year sentence for the stabbing, serving approximately half. The JWA struggled without Riki Dozan's leadership and eventually dissolved, paving the way for the creation of All Japan Pro Wrestling, AJPW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, in the 1970s, founded by his protégés Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki. Riki Dozan's story remains a powerful example of both extraordinary achievement and self-destructive tendencies, leaving an indelible mark on the foundation of Japanese professional wrestling, or Puroresu. The world of Japanese professional wrestling, or Puroresu, has long been intertwined with the Yakuza, Japan's organized crime syndicates. This deep-seated connection dates back to the sport's origins and continues to be a whispered truth among insiders. The influence began with figures like Ricky Dozan, wrestling's national hero, who was rumored to have close ties with Yakuza factions, not only for protection, but also as partners in his nightclub ventures. His murder by a low-level gangster fueled speculation that it was more than just a bar fight, possibly a message from rival factions. The crossover of Yakuza influence was also natural given that many wrestling promoters emerged from sumo backgrounds, a sport itself notorious for its underworld connections involving match fixing, illegal betting, and intimidation. As Puroresu grew, so did the Yakuza's involvement. Antonio Inoki, founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, was widely rumored to have Yakuza backing that facilitated NJPW's expansion and offered protection during business disputes. While never officially charged, stories persisted of the underworld's handling of uncooperative wrestlers. Even more overtly, promotions like Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, FMW, known for its brutal death matches, attracted rough crowds and local mob groups who often controlled ticket distribution and backstage security, demanding cuts of the gate. The 1990s brought this hidden influence to light with major ticket scandals. Promotions like NJPW were linked to Sakaya, corporate extortionists with Yakuza ties, who laundered money through ticket sales, resold blocks of tickets for cash, and extorted wrestlers and sponsors. These revelations led to public apologies and resignations. Following strict anti-Yakuza laws passed in the 1990s and 2000s, major promotions like NJPW, now under large corporate ownership like Bushi Road, have actively distanced themselves from organized crime, implementing background checks and publicly denying any ties. However, older wrestlers and insiders privately acknowledged that some smaller, local, and independent promotions may still have dealings with gangsters seeking a share of ticket or merchandising profits. The enduring legacy that the Yakuza built Puroresu is a stark reality. They provided protection, exploited opportunities, and at times kept the business afloat. Wrestlers who crossed the underworld often vanished from the scene entirely. It serves as a grim reminder that Japanese professional wrestling, much like boxing, sumo, and kabuki theater, emerged from and was shaped by the murky showbiz underworld. Eiji Azaki, known to the wrestling world as Hayabusa, was a revered Japanese professional wrestler celebrated for his innovative high-flying style and captivating masked persona. He was born on November 29, 1968, and primarily made his mark in Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, FMW, where he was considered the company's ace from 1995 to 2001. Hayabusa began his career in 1991 and developed the iconic Hayabusa character during a stint in Mexico, where he honed his lucha libre skills. He quickly became known for his breathtaking aerial maneuvers, introducing and popularizing moves like the Falcon Arrow, Phoenix Splash, and Firebird Splash, later known as the 450 Splash in North America. His unique blend of high-flying athleticism and hardcore wrestling, often associated with FMW, made him a major draw. He held numerous championships in FMW, including multiple heavyweight and tag team titles, and eventually captured the All-Asia Tag Team Championship in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Hayabusa was a major influence on a generation of wrestlers, with his innovative style still seen in the repertoires of many performers today. Hayabusa's career came to a sudden and tragic halt on October 22, 2001, during a match against Mammoth Sasaki in FMW. While attempting a springboard moonsault off the middle rope, he slipped, lost his footing, and landed directly on his head. The devastating impact fractured 2 of his vertebrae, leaving him paralyzed. This injury ended his in-ring career at the age of 32. Despite the paralysis, Hayabusa remained an inspirational figure. He continued to be involved in the wrestling industry as a figurehead and later as an executive producer for the revived FMW. He also pursued a singing career and dedicated himself to rehabilitation. Through immense perseverance, he defied expectations, eventually regaining some of his legs, and remarkably, in 2015, he was able to walk to a wrestling ring unassisted, a truly emotional moment for fans and peers alike. Sadly, just over a year later, on March 3, 2016, Eiji Azaki passed away at the age of 47. His cause of death was a subarachnoid hemorrhage, a type of bleeding on the brain. His passing was met with widespread grief from the wrestling community, who remembered him not only for his incredible talent in the ring, but also for his indomitable spirit in the face of adversity. Hayabusa's legacy as an innovator and symbol of resilience continues to resonate in professional wrestling. Hana Kimura was a Japanese professional wrestler and reality television star. The daughter of professional wrestler Kyoko Kimura, she was a second-generation wrestler who debuted in 2016. She competed for promotions such as World Wonder Ring Stardom and Wrestle One in Japan, and also made appearances for international companies like Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Eve. During her career, she held multiple championships, including the Artist of Stardom Championship and Goddess of Stardom Championship. She also won the 2019 5-Star GP Tournament and the Stardom Fighting Spirit Award. In September 2019, Kimura joined the cast of the reality television series Terrace House Tokyo 2019 to 2020, which aired on Fuji Television on Netflix. Her vibrant personality and signature pink hair made her a popular figure on the show. However, her appearance on Terrace House led to a torrent of online bullying and hateful comments, particularly after an incident where she confronted a housemate for accidentally shrinking one of her wrestling costumes. The online harassment intensified, with Kimura reportedly receiving nearly 100 negative comments daily, including messages telling her to die or disappear. On May 23, 2020, at the age of 22, Hana Kimura died by suicide due to hydrogen sulfide inhalation at her Tokyo apartment. Shortly before her death, she posted troubling images and messages on social media indicating the severe impact of the cyberbullying that she was experiencing. Her death sparked widespread mourning in the wrestling community and beyond, raising significant concerns about cyberbullying and its devastating consequences. In response to her death, Japan's parliament passed a new online insults law in June 2022. Verne Gagne was a foundational figure in professional wrestling, transitioning from a decorated amateur wrestling career, including 2 NCAA championships and an Olympic team spot, to becoming a successful professional wrestler and the owner of the American Wrestling Association, AWA. Founded in 1960 and based in Minneapolis, the AWA became a dominant regional promotion under Gagne's leadership. He emphasized technical wrestling and real athletes, holding the AWA World Heavyweight Championship 10 times himself and famously training future stars like Ric Flair in his wrestling school. However, the AWA's prominence waned in the late 1980s and early 1990s due to Gagne's rigid adherence to traditional wrestling and his failure to adapt to the changing industry. A critical misstep was the handling of Hulk Hogan, arguably the hottest commodity in wrestling. Gagne's reluctance to make Hulk Hogan his world champion and his insistence on a large share of Hogan's merchandise revenue led Hogan to join Vince McMahon's WWF. This move, combined with McMahon's aggressive national expansion and poaching of AWA talent, severely weakened the AWA. Gagne's old-school approach couldn't compete with the WWF's sports entertainment spectacle, leading to declining ratings and ultimately the AWA's closure in 1991 and Gagne's eventual bankruptcy. In his later years, Verne Gagne faced personal challenges, most notably a battle with Alzheimer's disease. This debilitating condition led to a tragic incident in 2009 where he was involved in an altercation with another resident at an adult care facility, resulting in the other man's death. Gagne was not charged due to his dementia. He passed away in 2015 at the age of 89, leaving behind a complex legacy of a wrestling pioneer whose unwavering principles ultimately contributed to the decline of his empire, but whose contributions to legitimate wrestling and talent development remain significant. The acquisition of World Championship Wrestling, WCW, by Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation, WWF, in March 2001 was hailed as a monumental moment in professional wrestling history, ending the bitter Monday Night Wars and promising a dream scenario, a full-scale invasion storyline where WCW and later Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, stars would challenge the WWF's supremacy. The potential was immense, with fans envisioning dream matches and a truly competitive battle for brand dominance. However, what unfolded was largely considered a significant disappointment, a dark side of booking decisions and corporate realities that squandered an unprecedented opportunity and left many fans feeling cheated. The primary criticisms of the invasion centered on its execution, particularly the glaring absence of WCW's top stars. Many of WCW's biggest names, such as Hulk Hogan, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash, and Ric Flair, were under guaranteed, lucrative contracts with AOL Time Warner and either chose not to join the WWF or were not bought out of their contracts by McMahon. This means that the invading WCW-ECW alliance was largely comprised of mid-card talent and former WWF wrestlers who had jumped ship, severely undermining the credibility of the invading force. Furthermore, even the available WCW and ECW talent, like Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page, were often booked weekly, and made them look inferior to their WWF counterparts. They rarely secured clean victories, and their characters were frequently diminished, creating an imbalance that made the invasion feel less like a legitimate threat and more like a prolonged burial of the competition. Adding to these issues was the storyline's rapid descent into a familiar McMahon family feud. What began as an interpromotional war quickly devolved into Vince McMahon battling his son Shane, who represented WCW, and daughter Stephanie representing ECW. This repetitive narrative, a staple of WWF programming for years, overshadowed the unique appeal of seeing rival promotions clash. The focus on the McMahons meant less screen time and diminished importance for the WCW and ECW wrestlers themselves, further frustrating fans who craved fresh matchups and legitimate competition. Ultimately, the entire Invasion storyline felt rushed, culminating prematurely at Survivor Series 2001, where the WWF definitively triumphed. This quick resolution, coupled with the aforementioned booking flaws and the absence of key WCW figures, led to the storyline being widely panned as a colossal missed opportunity, a testament to how corporate ego and short-sighted planning can undermine even the most promising wrestling narratives. When the New World Order, NWO, arrived in WWE in early 2002, the anticipation was palpable. The iconic faction, responsible for revolutionizing professional wrestling and nearly bankrupting WCW, was finally under Vince McMahon's banner. Fans envisioned a chaotic, game-changing force that would reignite the Monday Night Wars spirit and lead to dream matches. However, what unfolded was largely a disappointing and often criticized chapter, a dark side that failed to capture the magic of their WCW run and ultimately squandered immense potential due to questionable booking and unforeseen circumstances. One of the most significant criticisms of the NWO's WWE tenure was the immediate delusion of their rebellious mystique. In WCW, the NWO felt like an organic, anti-establishment force, truly invading and disrupting the status quo. In WWE, however, Vince McMahon himself introduced them as his personal poison to destroy his own creation, instantly stripping them of their independent renegade aura. They became just another faction under McMahon's control rather than a genuine outside threat. Furthermore, the booking of their original members often undermined their credibility. Hulk Hogan, the group's charismatic leader, quickly turned babyface due to overwhelming fan nostalgia at WrestleMania X8, derailing the heel dynamic. Scott Hall battled personal issues that led to his eventual release, and Kevin Nash suffered a severe quad injury, sidelining him for an extended period. These setbacks prevented the core trio from establishing the dominant presence that they once commanded, forcing WWE to fill the ranks with less impactful members like X-Pac, Big Show, and later Shawn Michaels, who, while a legend, didn't fit the original NWO mold. Ultimately, the NWO and WWE suffered a lack of clear purpose and a perceived burial by WWE's creative team. Unlike their WCW run, where they systematically dismantled the opposition, the WWE version of NWO rarely felt like a credible threat to the company's top stars or its overall dominance. They were often made to look weak in confrontations with WWE's established heroes like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and their signature chaotic antics felt constrained by WWE's more polished production style. The storyline lacked the long-term vision and genuine stakes that had made the original NWO so compelling. What could have been a multi-year, era-defining feud instead fizzled out within months, leaving fans with a sense of missed opportunity and a lasting impression of a once revolutionary faction reduced to a shadow of its former glory. The Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view event, held in October 1999, stands as one of professional wrestling's most infamous and widely panned productions, a stark illustration of how a well-intentioned concept can descend into a chaotic and embarrassing spectacle. Billed as a nostalgic tribute to wrestling legends, the show quickly unraveled due to abysmal production quality and a profound lack of professionalism. The arena was sparsely filled, the lighting was poor, and the overall presentation felt amateurish, falling far short of the standards that fans had come to expect from major wrestling broadcasts. This shoddy execution immediately set a grim tone for an event that promised to honor its participants, but ultimately tarnished their legacies. The core problem, however, lay with the performers themselves. Many of the heroes were well past their prime, visibly out of shape, and, in several disturbing instances, appeared to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. This led to a series of slow, sloppy, and often incoherent matches that were painful for fans to watch. The in-ring action lacked intensity, crispness, and the storytelling that defines good wrestling turning what should have been a celebration of past glories into a cringeworthy display of washed-up talent. The overall impression was one of disrespect for the audience and for the very legends the event claimed to honor. The nadir of Heroes of Wrestling event, and arguably its darkest moment, was the infamous performance of Jake the Snake Roberts. Scheduled to face Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Roberts arrived in a visibly inebriated state, rambling incoherently, exposing himself, and attempting to use his snake in a highly unprofessional and disturbing manner. This shocking display was not only deeply uncomfortable for viewers, but also epitomized the show's entire catastrophic failure and lack of control. The incident became a widely circulated example of a wrestling event that goes horribly wrong, cementing Heroes of Wrestling as a cautionary tale and a dark stain on the careers of all involved. The professional wrestling world often presents a glossy, larger-than-life facade, but behind the curtain, the reality for some performers can be a stark contrast. The life and career of Ashley Massaro, a former WWE diva and reality television personality, served as a deeply tragic example of this duality. While she was celebrated for her charisma and athleticism, her life was marked by a series of harrowing experiences that she alleged were a direct result of her time in the industry, ultimately leading to a premature and heartbreaking end. Massaro's public struggles began to emerge after she retired from wrestling. In a 2016 class action lawsuit against WWE, she made serious allegations that revealed a dark side to her professional experience. The lawsuit claimed that she, along with other wrestlers, suffered from brain injuries due to the company's alleged failure to protect them from repeated head trauma. More disturbingly, Massaro's affidavit also included an allegation of SA that she claimed occurred while on a WWE tour in Kuwait. She alleged that the company discouraged her from reporting the incident to authorities to protect their relationship with the military. These claims painted a picture of a company more concerned with its brand and public image than with the safety and well-being of its performers. The emotional and psychological toll of these experiences, coupled with the physical injuries she sustained, led to a public struggle with depression, which she documented in her affidavit. She spoke of long-term consequences such as chronic pain, migraines, and severe short-term memory loss. Massaro's story became a poignant narrative not only of the physical risks of professional wrestling, but also of the mental and emotional health crisis that has long plagued the industry. Her desire to have her brain donated for scientific study of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, further underscored the seriousness of her claims and the lasting impact of her injuries. Massaro's taking of her own life in 2019 at the age of just 39 brought renewed attention to her allegations and the wider issues she raised. Her passing was a tragic punctuation mark on a life filled with struggle, one that her friends said she had fought for years. While WWE denied knowledge of the more serious allegations, her case became a powerful symbol for the need for greater awareness, support, and accountability for athletes' health and safety in the entertainment industry. The legacy of Ashley Massaro is not just one of a beautiful and popular performer, but also a haunting reminder of the personal cost of fame and the often unseen battles fought behind the scenes. The wrestling world remembers Chyna as a trailblazer, a powerful ninth wonder of the world who shattered gender norms and competed on an equal footing with men. Joanie Lauer's on-screen persona was one of unbreakable strength and confidence, but the story of her life after leaving WWE in 2001 reveals a tragic and very human struggle with personal demons, professional fallout, and mental health issues. Lauer's exit from WWE marked the beginning of a downward spiral. Following a highly publicized real-life love triangle with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, Lauer was released from the company she had helped to make a household name. This sudden professional and personal abandonment, according to many who knew her, was the catalyst for a difficult period in her life. She found herself estranged from the wrestling community that had been her family, leading to feelings of isolation and a desperate search for a new identity. The post-WWE years were a painful public spectacle. Lauer's struggles with addiction and mental health became well documented through appearances on reality television and various media outlets. She engaged in behaviors that many saw as self-destructive, including a career in the adult film industry and frequent public outbursts. It was this move into adult entertainment that solidified her exile from the wrestling world, with WWE executives stating the material was a barrier to her being ever welcomed back. Friends and family noted her emotional fragility and a pattern of self-sabotage, often attributing it to a deep-seated loneliness and an inability to find a new purpose after her wrestling fame faded. Joanie Lauer's death in 2016 from a combination of various illicit substances was a heartbreaking end to a life marked by inner turmoil. The official cause was an accidental OD. but those close to her described her as a broken person who never fully recovered from her professional and personal losses. Her passing became a grim reminder of the need for better support systems for performers who dedicated their lives to the grueling world of professional entertainment. While her wrestling legacy remains iconic, her life outside of the ring serves as a poignant cautionary tale about the unseen battles behind a public persona of strength. Missy Hyatt carved out a unique space for herself in the world of professional wrestling, first as a valet and later as an on-air personality. With her striking looks and fiery personality, she became a recognizable face during the 1980s and 90s, working for major promotions like World Championship Wrestling, WCW, and Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. Yet, her career was also defined by a darker side of professional setbacks, personal disputes, and a reputation that often overshadowed her on-screen character. A key part of Hyatt's dark side was her reputation for backstage drama and her tumultuous relationships with promoters and fellow talent. Her public feuds with prominent figures like Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are well documented. She often found herself at the center of controversy, and her professional career was a revolving door of hirings and firings due to her clashes with management. Unlike some who thrive on conflict, Hyatt's constant battles seem to derail her long-term success, preventing her from establishing a prominent home in any major wrestling company. This instability led to her inconsistent career, leaving many to wonder what would have been had she been able to navigate the backstage politics more effectively. Beyond her professional life, Hyatt's personal life was also marked by a series of difficult challenges. Her autobiography detailed the emotional and physical abuse she endured during her marriage to wrestler The Sandman, shedding a harsh light on the less glamorous realities of a life in the professional wrestling business. This experience, along with her candid discussions about the sexism and mistreatment she faced in the industry, revealed the story of a woman who was forced to fight battles both in front of and behind the cameras. While her public persona was one of confidence and bravado, her personal life was often a struggle for survival. In the end, Missy Hyatt's legacy is a complicated one. She was a pioneer for women in the industry and a trailblazer for female managers. Her career was consistently undermined by a darker narrative of professional feuds and personal hardships. Her story serves as a reminder that the world of wrestling is not always what it seems, and that the struggles of its performers often extend far beyond the ring. To a generation of wrestling fans, Elizabeth Hewlett, known as Miss Elizabeth, was the epitome of grace and innocence. She was the First Lady of Wrestling, a demure and beloved figure who stood by the side of the Macho Man Randy Savage, providing a calm and elegant contrast to the larger-than-life chaos of professional wrestling. However, behind the polished persona and gentle demeanor was a private life marked by turmoil, addiction, and a tragic end that mirrored the struggles of so many of her peers. While her on-screen partnership with Randy Savage was legendary and, at times, volatile, it was her later personal life that truly descended into darkness. After their real-life and on-screen partnership dissolved, Elizabeth moved to WCW and became involved with wrestler Lex Luger. This relationship, which continued after both had left the world of mainstream wrestling, was characterized by a dangerous downward spiral into substance abuse. Reports from those close to them and law enforcement paint a picture of a couple struggling with addiction and domestic disputes. In the months leading to her death, Elizabeth was involved in a domestic disturbance with Luger, which resulted in a police report noting bruises and injuries to her face. While Luger denied physically striking her, the public record of domestic violence and visible signs of struggle were a stark contrast to the innocent image she had cultivated for years. Elizabeth's tragic end came on May 1st, 2003, when she was found unconscious in her home. The medical examiner ruled her death as acute toxicity caused by a fatal combination of painkillers and vodka. The passing of Elizabeth Hewlett at just 42 years old was a heartbreaking loss that brought to light the silent struggles of a beloved figure. Her life serves as a somber reflection of the dangers of addiction and often unseen battles that performers face once the spotlight fades. While she will always be remembered for her iconic role in wrestling history, her story is a powerful reminder of the vulnerability behind the fame and the need for a greater support for those in the entertainment industry. Darren Drozdov, better known to wrestling fans as Droz, was a complex and compelling figure whose career was tragically cut short. A former NFL player and a promising talent in the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, he was known for his puke gimmick and his intense, no-nonsense persona. However, behind the on-screen bravado was a man whose life was forever changed by a devastating in-ring accident, which led to a quiet but courageous fight for survival and a later life of deep reflection. Drozdov's dark side was not a result of personal demons in the same way as his peers, but rather a direct and brutal consequence of his professional life. On October 5, 1999, during a match against D'Lo Brown, a botched powerbomb resulted in Drozdov landing on his head. The impact fractured 2 vertebrae in his neck, leaving him a quadriplegic. The accident was a shocking and immediate end to his wrestling career and a life-altering event that left him with minimal use of his arms and no sensation below his chest. The aftermath of the accident was a testament to Drozdov's strength and resilience. Despite the unimaginable physical and emotional challenges he faced, he chose to live, and his life became an inspiration to many. He spoke openly about the accident and recovery and his faith, often appearing in documentaries and interviews to share his story. He never held a grudge against D'Lo Brown, famously stating that he forgave him, understanding that it was a tragic accident and not an intentional act. Darren Drozdov's life after wrestling was a somber but ultimately powerful story of perseverance. The dark side of his career was not born from substance abuse or self-destructive behavior, but the inherent risks of the wrestling profession itself. His story serves as a profound reminder of the physical sacrifices made by athletes and a tribute to the human spirit's ability to endure and find meaning in the face of immense tragedy. Michael Lockwood, better known to his fans as the fearless and energetic Crash Holly, who was allegedly well over 400 pounds, was a staple of the WWF's Attitude Era. His gimmick as a super heavyweight who was constantly trying to make weight, coupled with his willingness to take ridiculous bumps, made him an unlikely fan favorite. However, behind the comedic antics and the 24/7 Hardcore Championship rule, Lockwood's life was a struggle with personal demons that ultimately led to a tragic and premature end. The dark side of Crash Holly's career was a mix of the professional and deeply personal. While he was known for his dedication to the chaotic and physical demanding hardcore division, the stress and injuries of that style of wrestling took a toll. More profoundly, Lockwood battled with depression and substance abuse in his private life. Friends and colleagues noted his mood swings and a dependency on alcohol, which worsened after his divorce and the end of his WWE career. The very personality that made him a popular character, unpredictable and manic, may have been a reflection of the inner turmoil he was experiencing. Crash Holly's life came to a heartbreaking end on November 6, 2003, when he was found dead at the home of fellow wrestler Stevie Richards. The cause of death was ruled of taking of his own life by asphyxia, with a mixture of alcohol and pain medication found in his system. His passing was a shocking and devastating loss that highlighted the often unseen struggles of performers in the wrestling industry. It serves as a grim reminder that behind the on-screen character and scripted rivalries, many wrestlers face profound personal challenges. While Crash Holly will always be remembered for his fearless high-flying moves, his comedic timing, and his unforgettable Hardcore Championship reign, his life story is a tragic one. It underscores the importance of mental health awareness and support systems within the wrestling community and stands as a poignant warning about the pressures and personal battles that can be hidden beneath the surface of a charismatic public persona. Bill DeMott's life in professional wrestling, first as a wrestler known as Hugh Morris and later as a prominent trainer, is often viewed through the lens of immense controversy. While he held a powerful position in WWE's developmental system, his time there was ultimately defined by a series of disturbing allegations that cast a dark shadow over his career. These accusations, which came to head in 2015, painted a picture of a head trainer who was not only tough but allegedly abusive, creating a toxic environment for aspiring wrestlers. The most widely reported and damaging allegations against DeMott involved a pattern of physical and verbal misconduct. Numerous former trainees from WWE's developmental territories, including Deep South Wrestling and NXT, came forward with claims of bullying, harassment, and dangerous training methods. These accounts allege that DeMott would use homophobic and racist slurs, force trainees to perform dangerous drills that led to injuries, and created an atmosphere of fear and intimidation. Stories of him allegedly humiliating talent and making disparaging comments about them became common in online wrestling circles. While DeMott has consistently denied the allegations, the sheer volume and consistency of the claims from a variety of sources gave them significant weight. The culmination of these accusations was a social media firestorm in 2015. A public letter from a former trainee, coupled with a growing chorus of wrestlers speaking out, led to the #FireDeMott trending on Twitter. Faced with mounting public pressure and a potential public relations nightmare, WWE accepted his resignation. This outcome cemented a complex and troubling legacy for DeMott. His supporters have argued that his training style was simply old school and intended to weed out those not dedicated enough for the business, similar to the rigorous training of the Hart family dungeon. However, the sheer nature of the allegations, which included sexual harassment and psychological abuse, suggested a far more sinister reality. Bill DeMott's career, therefore, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the stark contrast between a tough training style and outright abuse within the professional wrestling industry. Enzo Amore, whose real name is Eric Arndt, burst onto the professional wrestling scene with a unique, brash persona and an undeniable gift for gab. As one half of a popular tag team with Big Cass in NXT and later on the main WWE roster, he became a fan favorite, known for his charismatic catchphrases and ability to connect with a live audience. However, behind his on-screen success lay a series of professional and personal issues that ultimately led to his downfall and a reputation for being difficult to work with. The beginning of Amore's dark side can be traced to numerous reports of backstage heat with his colleagues. Stories from multiple sources within WWE's locker room painted him as arrogant and reckless, with a disregard for the unspoken rules of professional wrestling. He was accused of frequently breaking character and irritating other wrestlers, which led to him being allegedly kicked off tour buses and alienated from his peers. These behavioral issues were seen as a major factor in his and Big Cass's split and the eventual stagnation of his career, as his charisma in front of the camera was consistently undermined by his inability to navigate the complex social dynamics behind the scenes. Amore's career came to a sudden and definitive end in 2018. A serious sexual assault allegation was made against him, leading to his immediate suspension and eventual release from WWE. While the police investigation was ultimately closed without charges, the public scandal and the damage of his reputation were irreparable. His release from the company highlighted the volatile nature of a wrestler's life, where personal allegations can have immediate and severe professional consequences regardless of the legal outcome. Enzo Amore's story is a powerful example of how a once promising career can be derailed not by a lack of talent, but by a combination of backstage issues and a public scandal that made it impossible for him to remain in the spotlight. Scott Hall, known to millions as the iconic Razor Ramon and a founding member of the New World Order, was a performer of undeniable charisma and talent. He was oozing machismo, if you will. He was a master of his craft, capable of captivating a crowd with a single "hey-yo" and an effortless flick of a toothpick. Yet beneath the cool, bad guy exterior lay a life haunted by personal demons, a dark side that threatened to overshadow his in-ring accomplishments and ultimately define his legacy as much as his championship reigns. His struggles with substance abuse were well documented and profoundly impacted his career. The toll of years on the road and pressure of being a top star and the physical demands of the profession led him down a path of addiction. This battle manifested in a series of highly public incidents, including erratic behavior, missed shows, and multiple arrests. These issues not only damaged his professional reputation, but also cost him opportunities and led to his release from major wrestling companies at the height of his fame. His addiction became a central storyline in his real life, a tragic narrative that was far more compelling and heart-wrenching than any wrestling angle. The dark side of Scott Hall's life went even deeper, rooted in a traumatic event from his past. At the age of 25, he was involved in a fatal altercation outside of a nightclub where he was working as a bouncer. Though the shooting was ruled as self-defense, the incident haunted him for the rest of his life, leaving him with deep-seated emotional trauma and contributed to his later struggles with addiction. This hidden scar reveals a man grappling with inner turmoil, using substances to cope with a reality he could not escape. In the end, Scott Hall's story is a harrowing tale of a man trapped between the light of his incredible professional career and the darkness of his personal struggles. He became a symbol of both the heights one could reach in wrestling and the devastating lows that could follow. While his final years saw a period of sobriety and redemption, his life serves as a cautionary tale about the fragile line between the persona and the person, a powerful reminder that even the bad guy is human. Sid Eudy, better known to wrestling fans as Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, and Sid Vicious, was a figure of immense physical presence and intensity. With his powerful build and wild-eyed stares, he embodied a persona of unstable, unpredictable dominance that made him a main event star in both WWE and WCW. However, beneath his intimidating on-screen character, Sid's career was often marked by a dark side of backstage turmoil, questionable decisions, and personal issues that prevented him from reaching his full potential and left a complicated legacy. A recurring theme in Sid's career was his reputation for being difficult to work with. He was known for having a temper, and his backstage altercations with fellow wrestlers are legendary. His most infamous incident involved a hotel room fight with Arn Anderson in 1993, which resulted in both men being stabbed with scissors. This explosive conflict led to his firing from WCW and became one of the most notorious events in professional wrestling history. Such outbursts and an apparent lack of professionalism often alienated him from management and his peers, leading to a fragmented and inconsistent career path. Sid's career was also defined by a dangerous and unpredictable style, which sometimes led to significant injuries. In one of the most shocking moments in wrestling history, he suffered a gruesome leg break during a match in 2001. The injury was a direct result of him performing a move he was not comfortable with and had been advised against, highlighting a stubbornness that often put him at risk. This catastrophic injury effectively ended his career as a full-time performer and served as a stark reminder of the physical cost of his choices. Ultimately, while Psycho Sid had all the physical tools to be a top-tier legend, his career was constantly derailed by his personal demons and a reputation for being an untamable presence. The Psycho persona wasn't just a gimmick, it reflected a real-life volatility that haunted him. His story serves as a powerful testament to the idea that talent and charisma alone are not enough to sustain a career in a demanding industry like professional wrestling, and that personal accountability is just as crucial as professional skill. Bret the Hitman Hart's career is often celebrated for his technical prowess, in-ring storytelling, and his unwavering integrity as a professional wrestler. However, for a man whose career was built on being a hero, his life and legacy also contain a significant dark side marked by tragedy, betrayal, and bitterness. These personal and professional struggles, often playing out in the public eye, created a complex and heartbreaking narrative that followed him long after his in-ring career concluded. The defining moment of Hart's professional dark side is unquestionably the Montreal Screwjob in 1997. As he was preparing to leave the then WWF for rival promotion WCW, Hart was assured by Vince McMahon that he would not lose his championship in his final match. However, due to concerns that Hart would leave with the title and disparage the company on live television, McMahon and others conspired to have the referee call for the bell while Hart was in a submission hold he never actually tapped out to. This public and deeply personal act of betrayal shattered Hart's trust in the business, leading to a long-term period of animosity, legal disputes, and a profound sense of injustice that he carried for years. In WCW, his career was tragically cut short due to an in-ring incident with Bill Goldberg. During a match in 1999, Goldberg delivered a kick to the head that resulted in a severe concussion for Hart. This injury eventually forced him to retire from wrestling, abruptly ending what should have been the final years of his legendary career. The incident became a source of lasting animosity, with Hart frequently and publicly expressing his frustration and anger towards Goldberg, blaming him for what happened and for being reckless in the ring. He has often described Goldberg as a dangerous and unprofessional performer, a stance he has maintained for decades. Beyond the betrayal, Hart's life has been haunted by a series of devastating personal tragedies. The sudden death of his younger brother Owen Hart in a freak accident in 1999 was a blow from which he never truly recovered. This loss, combined with the passing of his brother-in-law Davey Boy Smith and his own severe stroke, painted a picture of a man who endured immense physical and emotional suffering. These events often left him a shell of his former self and contributed to a profound sense of sadness and loss that was apparent in his later public appearances. Even after his eventual reconciliation and return to WWE, the dark cloud of his past has never fully dissipated. Hart has remained a vocal and often critical figure, sharing his unfiltered opinions on the industry, its performers, and its past. He has consistently voiced his belief that WWE and other major promotions are failing to protect their wrestlers and has been a firm critic of the current wrestling landscape. While his candor is appreciated by many fans, it also paints a picture of a man still grappling with the painful memories of betrayal, injury, and the feeling that his career was unfairly cut short. Ultimately, while Bret Hart's professional career was full of triumphs and championships, the dark side of his life is a story of a man who lost so much. He was a hero to many, but also became a symbol of a wrestler who was broken by the business and the tragedies that accompanied it. His legacy is a reminder that even the most celebrated figures in wrestling can face personal battles that are far more challenging than any scripted rivalry. Stone Cold Steve Austin, whose real name is Steve Williams, is a legend in the world of professional wrestling, widely credited with leading the industry's Attitude Era to unprecedented heights of popularity. With his rebellious anti-authority persona, iconic catchphrases, and a simple yet effective wrestling style, he became one of the biggest pop culture figures of the late 1990s. However, behind the larger-than-life character, Austin's career and personal life have often been shadowed by serious controversies that often get overshadowed by his immense success. Austin's personal dark side began even before his rise to superstardom in WWE. His run with World Championship Wrestling, WCW, ended abruptly in 1995 when he was fired by head booker Eric Bischoff. Bischoff, who reportedly viewed Austin as a wrestler who was not a marketable main event star, fired him via FedEx while Austin was at home recovering from an injury. The reason given was that Austin was not a good fit for the company's future plans. This unceremonious dismissal was a major turning point for Austin, who used the perceived lack of respect as fuel for his career rebirth in Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, and eventually WWE. It was a humiliating and damaging moment that highlighted the cutthroat nature of the wrestling business and the professional disrespect that fueled his later, more famous anti-authority persona. The most significant and troubling part of Austin's dark side is the domestic violence he inflicted on his ex-wife, Deborah Marshall. In 2002, police were called to their home after Marshall reported being assaulted. Austin was arrested and charged with a misdemeanor, to which he pled no contest and was sentenced to probation, a fine, and community service. This incident, while largely known to fans, has been a painful strain on his legacy. The public was deeply invested in his Stone Cold persona, but this real-life event revealed a violent and deeply problematic side to the man behind the character, proving that his on-screen aggression was not always just an act. In addition to his personal life, Austin's professional career was also marked by a contentious and often difficult relationship with WWE management. While his defiance of authority was a key part of his gimmick, it also led to real-life conflicts. One of the most famous examples was his walkout in 2002. Frustrated with his creative direction and what he felt was a disrespectful booking decision, Austin abruptly left the company. This move shocked the wrestling world and was seen as a major betrayal by WWE owner Vince McMahon and many of his colleagues. Austin's walkout highlighted a side of his personality that was uncompromising and stubborn in real life as it was in the ring, showing a man who was willing to risk his career to stand his ground. While this event is often romanticized as part of his renegade persona, it was a genuinely damaging and controversial moment that led to a significant period of estrangement from the company he helped to build. Mike Awesome was a wrestler whose immense physical talent and reckless high-flying style made him a standout star in both Japan and Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. With a rare combination of size, power, and surprising agility, he seemed destined for superstardom. Yet his career and life were tragically marked by a dark side of controversy, professional mismanagement, and ultimately a heartbreaking personal struggle that led to his premature death. One of the most controversial moments of his career was his departure from ECW in 2000. While still the reigning ECW World Heavyweight Champion, Awesome controversially jumped to World Championship Wrestling, WCW. While many fans saw this as an act of disloyalty, the reality was far more complicated. It was reported that ECW had been bouncing checks and not paying its wrestlers, and Awesome, who had a family to support, chose to leave for a more financially stable opportunity with WCW. This move, however, made him a pariah to a passionate fan base, and the controversy surrounding his exit followed him for the rest of his career. Awesome's time in major promotions like WCW and WWE was a stark example of a performer being misused and misunderstood. Instead of being presented as the dominant, hard-hitting monster he was in ECW, he was saddled with a series of absurd and career-killing gimmicks, such as the Fat Chick Thriller and That 70s Guy. These gimmicks, combined with inconsistent booking and a lack of creative direction, completely neutered his credibility and alienated him from a new audience. He never managed to replicate the success he found in ECW and Japan, and his time in both major companies was brief and unmemorable. Tragically, the darkest chapter of Mike Awesome's life came after he retired from wrestling. He reportedly suffered from personal problems, including a divorce and an arrest for domestic abuse. In 2007, at just 42 years old, Mike Awesome was found dead in his home after apparently taking his own life. His tragic story serves as a somber reminder of the mental and emotional toll the wrestling business can take on its performers, a toll that is often hidden from public view. Perry Saturn was once considered one of the most intense and technically skilled wrestlers of the 1990s, gaining fame in ECW, WCW, and WWE. However, behind the scenes, his body took a brutal beating. Saturn suffered multiple knee and neck injuries throughout his career, which required surgeries and long recovery periods. Even after returning to the ring, pain became a constant part of his daily life. His high-impact wrestling style, combined with a lack of proper medical care in the industry at the time, left him physically broken by the early 2000s. His injuries led to missed opportunities and played a major role in his repeated firings from major companies. In WWE, Saturn struggled with backstage heat and was eventually released. After leaving the national spotlight, he wrestled on the independent scene, but his health issues worsened. Pain and depression pushed him towards substance abuse, particularly painkillers and methamphetamine. Over time, addiction consumed his life. He lost his home, his career, and even contact with most of his friends and family. Tragically, Saturn eventually disappeared from the public eye and was believed by many to have died. In reality, he became homeless and lived on the streets for years. He later revealed that he was nearly killed after being shot while stopping an SA, which further worsened his physical health. Eventually, Saturn resurfaced and spoke openly about his struggles, raising awareness of the darker side of professional wrestling. His story is a powerful reminder of the physical, mental, and emotional toll that the business can take, and how even the toughest performers can fall through the cracks when the spotlight fades. Balls Mahoney, real name Jonathan Reckner, had a wrestling career defined by reinvention born of desperation and willingness to endure punishment others wouldn't. Early on, he was saddled with joke characters that never stood a chance of longevity. Boo Bradley, a thinly veiled parody of To Kill a Mockingbird in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and Santa Claus, an evil Santa Claus in the World Wrestling Federation. These gimmicks earned paychecks but little respect, reinforcing Reckner's place on the margins of the industry that didn't quite know what to do with him. It wasn't until Extreme Championship Wrestling that he found something resembling purpose, becoming Balls Mahoney, the chair-swinging brawler who embodied ECW's love affair with access, pain, and spectacle. In ECW, Balls Mahoney's body became the product. Chair shots to the head were routine, tables shattered beneath him nightly, and concussions were shrugged off as part of the job. The fans embraced him as authentic, but the cost was cumulative and severe. When ECW shut down in 2001, Mahoney drifted through the independent circuit between 2001 and 2006, working wherever he could, often in increasingly violent environments. WWE's ECW revival offered a brief return to the spotlight, but in April 2008, he was released again. What followed was a grim repetition: death matches on the indies, more punishment, and a body that had never been given time to heal. Away from the ring, Mahoney carried heavy burdens. He was open about his membership in the Church of Satan, but far more defining was his struggles with depression, worsened by the deaths of close friends like Chris Candido, whom he'd known since his teens. Legal trouble followed, including a disorderly conduct charge in 2010, as did the visible effects of years of head trauma. Concussions led to CTE-like symptoms, and in a moment that went viral for all the wrong reasons, Mahoney vomited mid-match during an independent show, his body finally rebelling in public. Jonathan Reckner died in 2016 at just 44 years of age when his heart gave out. He was a casualty not of one moment, but of a lifetime of accumulated damage. Balls Mahoney stands as a stark reminder that wrestling's most brutal stories often end quietly, long after the chairs are put away. Ian and Axel Rotten were two of the most infamous figures in ECW history, known for their brutal and bloody feud, as well as their tag team, The Bad Breed. Their hardcore style made them cult favorites, but it also destroyed their bodies. Both men suffered serious injuries, countless concussions, and long-term physical pain as a result of their unprotected chair shots, barbed wire matches, and violent brawls. ECW's lack of proper medical care only worsened their conditions. Even after leaving the company, neither Ian nor Axel were able to fully escape the physical consequences of their Extreme Wrestling careers. Outside of the ring, their personal lives spiraled out of control. Financial instability plagued them after ECW collapsed, and they bounced between independent promotions just to survive. Substance abuse became a major issue for both men, especially painkillers and heroin. They struggled with addiction, legal problems, and homelessness at different points in their lives. Their once close relationship also deteriorated as drug use and personal disputes drove a wedge between them. Despite brief appearances in WWE's ECW reunion shows, neither was able to rebuild a stable career. Tragically, both Ian and Axel Rotten suffered heartbreaking fates. Axel's health declined rapidly, and he battled depression, drug addiction, and several spinal issues. In 2016, he was found dead in a motel room at just 44 years old from an accidental OD. Ian's struggles continued as well. He faced accusations of unprofessional behavior, substance abuse, and even scamming promoters. His poor health and lingering addiction issues kept him out of the spotlight, and his legacy became overshadowed by controversy. The story of Ian and Axel Rotten is a tragic example of how the hardcore wrestling lifestyle, combined with addiction and lack of support, can destroy even the most dedicated performers. Vince Russo's legacy in professional wrestling is one of brilliant chaos. As a key creative force in the WWF during the height of the Attitude Era, he is credited with pioneering the short-term, shock-value booking style that helped the company defeat WCW. Yet, for all of his undeniable talent in driving ratings, Russo's career is ultimately defined by professional instability, dramatic failures, and a profound inability to sustain relationships. The first and perhaps most damaging aspect of Russo's dark side was his impulsive decision to quit the WWF at the peak of his power in 1999. He then jumped to rival promotion WCW as head writer, promising to fix its sinking ship. Instead, his tenure was a disaster marked by nonsensical storylines, chaotic booking, and the constant blurring of reality and fiction. The most telling sign of his professional instability was his bizarre, short-lived relationship with the company. Russo quit and returned to WCW multiple times within a single year, unable to handle the corporate structure or the resistance to his ideas. He oversaw a period where WCW's creative direction spiraled into absurdity, accelerating the company's demise. After WCW collapsed, Russo's career continued on an erratic track with TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. For nearly a decade, his influence produced both highs and lows. He was responsible for controversial storylines that generated buzz, but also for deeply criticized angles that alienated fans and made the product feel amateurish and directionless. The constant, unpredictable shifts in TNA's creative direction, often attributed to his unique brand of Crash TV, ultimately prevented the company from ever achieving mainstream credibility. The cycle of instability finally culminated in him quitting TNA, after which he found himself completely blackballed from the industry, having alienated virtually every major power broker. His career of conflict created intense and legendary real-life feuds, most famously with fellow bookers Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette. These relationships devolved into bitter, years-long personal disputes, where Cornette in particular has mainstreamed a campaign of immense criticism, holding Russo responsible for damaging the traditional art of wrestling. These feuds are not just professional disagreements, they are high-profile, public displays of the deep philosophical divide and personal animosity Russo provokes. Unable to return to a decision-making role in wrestling, Vince Russo now uses his podcast as a platform to mock and critique the industry that once embraced him. This position as a perpetual outsider who once held the keys to the kingdom but lost them through his own behavior and extreme temperament is the final, sad chapter of his career, a testament to the fact that his greatest creation, the chaos he booked, ultimately devoured his own professional life. Jim Cornette is arguably the most brilliant and volatile mind in modern wrestling history. As a manager, booker, and historian, his dedication to the art of the business is legendary. But that same obsessive passion has always been tainted by a combustible temper and a rigid refusal to compromise. The dark side of Cornette's career is not found in failure of vision, but in his profound inability to control his emotions, leading to a long history of self-sabotage, professional instability, and public feuds. The most critical business failure of Cornette's career was the collapse of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, SMW. As owner and chief booker, Cornette was determined to run a throwback territory promotion based on traditional Southern wrestling values. While critically acclaimed, his steadfast refusal to adapt to the changing aesthetic of the mid-90s, coupled with financial pressures, proved fatal. SMW became a monument to his rigid principles, demonstrating that his brilliant, old-school vision was commercially unviable in this burgeoning national landscape. Cornette's legendary lack of control over his anger and his mouth has been the defining destructive force of his career. This volatility has led to a litany of quitting multiple jobs across every major promotion, often leaving over creative differences that were amplified by his explosive temperament. The most decisive professional setback came when his lack of self-control cost him his lucrative position as the head of the WWE development system, Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW. Cornette was fired in 2005 after a physical altercation with a young trainee, marking the definitive moment where his behavior finally outweighed his indispensable value to the largest company in the world. His professional limitations were also exposed in high-profile managerial roles, notably during his time managing Vader in the WWF. Despite Cornette's intense mic skills and dedication, Vader arrived in the company past his physical prime and was never presented as the unstoppable force he was elsewhere. Cornette, for all of his genius, could not salvage a situation where the foundational talent and booking were already compromised. More damagingly, Cornette's anger and lack of filter repeatedly bled into his public life, causing major scandals. He has faced criticism for using racial slurs in interviews and creating mainstream news when he was recorded in a meltdown cussing out a Dairy Queen employee. This incident in particular reveals a deeply unsettling willingness to unleash professional rage on defenseless service workers. Today, this pattern of conflict finds its home on his highly successful podcast. Cornette has become famous for constantly fighting with everyone, leveraging his show as a platform for verbal warfare against modern wrestlers, promotions, and critics. While the resulting controversy fuels his success, the constant, furious nature of his commentary solidifies his reputation as a brilliant yet perpetually angry professional bridge burner whose greatest enemy remains himself. Bill Watts, known as the Cowboy, carved out a legacy as a brilliant but deeply flawed promoter and booker. His Mid-South wrestling territory in the 1980s was widely regarded as one of the best booked and most intense wrestling promotions in the world, marked by logical storylines and strong characters. Yet, Watts' career is shadowed by both the failure of his business ventures and the self-inflicted wounds of his professional prejudices. Watts' downfall began with the collapse of his own creation, Mid-South Wrestling, later UWF. Despite his critical success, Watts struggled to transition the regional powerhouse into a national promotion capable of competing with the growing dominance of the WWF. His unwillingness to adapt to changing television and touring demands, coupled with his old-school, rigid philosophy, ultimately led to financial struggles. A critical blow came when he lost his top stars and was forced to sell the promotion to Jim Crockett Promotions, JCP, in 1987. Watts, the man who prided himself on self-sufficiency and control, was suddenly working for the very regional company he had sought to surpass, marking a crushing end to his tenure as an independent promotional kingpin. Watts was surprisingly hired as the Executive Vice President of World Championship Wrestling, WCW, in 1992, giving him the opportunity to run a major company. However, his tenure was short-lived and disastrous. Watts, known for being uncompromising and often insensitive, gave an interview that year where he made blatant racist and homophobic remarks, openly sharing prejudiced views about wrestlers and the industry. The public backlash was swift and severe. In a climate where media scrutiny was increasing, WCW faced immense pressure and ultimately fired Watts due to the controversy caused by his discriminatory comments. This incident demonstrated that his old-school toughness was often inspired by deep-seated, often professional beliefs that had no place in mainstream entertainment. Following this dramatic firing, Watts received a final chance in the major leagues when he was brought into the WWF in 1995 as a booker. In this less visible but still powerful role, he was part of the creative team during a critical transitional period for the company. However, true to his pattern of self-sabotage, Watts quit the job abruptly. His rigid booking philosophy clashed with the more cartoonish, rapidly evolving direction the WWF was taking, Watts, unable and unwilling to compromise his traditional vision, walked away from one of the most coveted creative positions in the industry, effectively ending his career as a hands-on power broker. Despite the professional missteps, the financial failures, and the cultural controversies that repeatedly derailed his career, the wrestling establishment eventually recognized his profound impact on the industry. In 2009, Bill Watts was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, a final symbolic acknowledgement of his undeniable brilliance as a talent scout and promoter whose work laid the groundwork for modern professional wrestling. John Laurinaitis, known in the ring as Johnny Ace, has a career that serves as a study in contradiction. While he held one of the most powerful corporate positions in WWE, his path to that power was paved with professional setbacks, contentious feuds, and, eventually, a catastrophic failure of conduct. His influence behind the scenes was immense, yet it is in that role that the darker aspects of his career truly emerged, culminating in a disgraced exit from the industry. The paradox of his career began in the ring. While he was a capable worker, Laurinaitis never managed to get over in America on a mainstream level. He was perhaps best known for his run in WCW in the late 1980s as half of the Dynamic Dudes, with Shane Douglas, a pair of neon-clad, skateboarding babyfaces who were openly mocked by fans and critics alike. He always lived in the shadow of his brother Joe, who achieved legendary status as Road Warrior Animal. The only place he was truly appreciated and given a genuine push was in All Japan Pro Wrestling, where he became a respected tag team star, revealing that the respect he craved had to be earned abroad, not at home. Following the collapse of WCW, Laurinaitis secured a powerful backstage position in WWE. His true power grew when he strategically ascended the corporate ranks, eventually replacing the highly popular and deeply respected Jim Ross as the head of talent relations. The prevailing sentiment was that Laurinaitis was installed precisely because he was seen as more of a yes man for Vince McMahon, prioritizing compliance and corporate demand over the genuine talent advocacy and nurturing that Ross was known for. This shift fundamentally altered the culture of WWE's talent management. Laurinaitis' tenure as head of talent relations was characterized by controversial and damaging decisions. He played a key role in the firing of legendary booker Jim Cornette from the developmental territory Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW, replacing him with the often reluctant and less invested Paul Heyman. Furthermore, his philosophy on women's wrestling was a notorious step backwards. He spearheaded the infamous Divas Search, opting to hire female models to be wrestlers, and most of them were terrible in the ring. This strategy emphasized looks over skill, earning widespread disdain from fans and actively setting back the progress of in-ring women's wrestling for years. The defining and final dark chapter of his career centered on serious allegations of professional and sexual misconduct. The scandals involved alleged abuse of power and sexual misconduct, surfacing in 2022, detailing a pattern of corporate coercion against female employees. These devastating claims brought an abrupt and definitive end to his tenure, leading to him being fired from WWE. John Laurinaitis' career is therefore not remembered for the talent that he helped discover or the matches he wrestled, but for the corrosive, unchecked power he wielded, a power that ultimately destroyed his own standing in the industry. For 7 long years, CM Punk's return to professional wrestling was the sport's impossible dream when he finally stepped back into the ring with All Elite Wrestling, AEW, in August 2021. The emotional eruption was unlike anything the business had seen in decades. This was not merely a wrestling angle, it was a cultural moment, the prodigal son coming home to validate a new company and cement his legacy. But beneath the tidal wave of cheers lay a fault line. A volatile mix of pent-up anger, fragile organizational structure, and the burden of expectations that guaranteed an explosive end. The darkness began to creep in as Punk's presence created a palpable divide. He was the undisputed star, a legend whose drawing power was immediate and immense, but his arrival immediately challenged the established hierarchy. On one side stood the executive vice presidents, EVPs, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, who had built AEW from the ground up. On the other was Punk, a man notoriously uncompromising in his creative vision and deeply mistrustful of management. The friction was not just professional, it was personal. Punk's legendary ability to speak his mind, the very thing that made him a cult hero, became the professional hazard that poisoned the locker room, with veiled shots and genuine animosity escalating backstage over perceived slights and unprofessional conduct. This brewing hostility boiled over on September 4th, 2022, following the All Out pay-per-view. After regaining the AEW World Championship, Punk entered the post-show press conference not to celebrate, but to unleash a torrent of unfiltered venom. He verbally assaulted the EVPs and the company's infrastructure. This was the moment that the fictional boundaries of wrestling dissolved entirely. The brawl-out incident that followed was a descent into true chaos. The EVPs allegedly rushed Punk's locker room, leading to a violent physical fight involving chairs, bites, and punches. The incident permanently shattered the company's internal trust, exposed the management flaws, and instantly sidelined its biggest stars, transforming a celebratory night into the most infamous backstage fight of the modern era. Though Punk briefly returned to AEW's sister program, AEW Collision, the peace was merely an illusion. The fragile truce finally dissolved on August 27, 2023 at All In London's Wembley Stadium, the largest event in AEW history. Before the show even began, a confrontation erupted between Punk and young talent Jack Perry. The dispute centered on a spot in a previous show where Perry wanted to use real glass, an idea Punk opposed as unsafe. Backstage in London, after Perry made a remark on camera about using real glass, saying to cry him a river, Punk confronted him, leading to a physical altercation moments before Punk was due to walk out. The scene was pure pandemonium. In the aftermath, AEW owner Tony Khan later claimed he genuinely feared for his own safety, describing the incident as an act that endangered everyone working at the event. The company finally reached its breaking point. Following an investigation into the London incident, the decision was made to terminate Punk's contract with cause. The Dream return concluded not with a heroic final chapter, but with a total acrimonious separation in September 2023. The tragedy of CM Punk's AEW run is that the fire he brought to spark the revolution ultimately became the fire that burned down the house, leaving behind the chilling question of what could have been if the ambition had been tempered by diplomacy. The professional wrestling world has had its share of tragedies, but few are as impactful and defining as the plane crash of October 4th, 1975. A private Cessna carrying wrestlers Ric Flair, Johnny Valentine, Bob Brugers, and Tim Woods, as well as promoter David Crockett, crashed in Wilmington, North Carolina, forever altering the careers and lives of those on board. The dark side of this event was not an isolated moment of disaster, but a brutal, career-ending reality for several of its survivors and a powerful lesson on the fragility of a physically demanding profession. The crash was a result of the plane running out of fuel, a catastrophic human error that led to a brutal impact. While all the passengers survived the initial crash, the consequences were devastating. For Johnny Valentine, a legendary and feared heel at the time, the crash was a death knell to his in-ring career. A bone fragment from his broken back became lodged in his spinal column, leaving him paralyzed and forcing his immediate retirement. Similarly, Bob Brugers also suffered a broken back, ending his wrestling career prematurely. Their stories represent the ultimate dark side of the industry, the sudden, irreversible loss of a livelihood, and the physical abilities that defined them. This crash came just 8 months after the February 20th plane crash involving wrestlers Buddy Colt, Mike McCord, Gary Hart, and Bobby Shane. Their plane crashed into Tampa Bay while traveling in Colt's single-engine Cessna. Caught in a sudden, violent storm, the plane was piloted by Colt directly into the water, tearing the aircraft apart. In a desperate single-second struggle for life, 3 men, including Colt and McCord, managed to escape the wreckage and swim 300 yards to safety, with Hart heroically towing the injured McCord. Tragically, Bobby Shane, an ascending booker, was unable to free himself and perished. A devastating loss that sent a ripple of despair throughout the business. The crash not only ended careers and influenced lifelong injuries, but in a chilling testament to wrestling's rigid culture, it was met with cheers by fans at the next night's show who believed that the news was merely a part of a storyline, a moment of macabre reality that underscored the perilous life of a professional wrestler and the heavy cost of maintaining kayfabe. For Ric Flair, the crash was a different kind of tragedy, one that paradoxically forged his legendary career. Told he would never wrestle again due to a broken back in 3 places, Flair's sheer will and determination saw him return to the ring just months later. However, the injuries forced him to abandon his brawling, power-based style for a more technical, grappling-focused approach. This led to the evolution of his iconic Nature Boy persona, a gimmick that would make him the most celebrated champion in the history of the sport. The crash was a crucible that transformed a young wrestler into a titan of the industry, a testament to his resilience in the face of what many consider a career-ending injury. These 1975 plane crashes remain a stark and harrowing tale in wrestling lore. It's a somber narrative of careers cut short and lives permanently altered or lost. More than just a cautionary tale, it's a testament to the immense physical sacrifices wrestlers make and a powerful reminder of how a single, unforeseen event can change the course of history, not just for individuals, but for the entire industry. May 19th, 1996, Madison Square Garden. It was supposed to be a farewell, a final show before two of the WWF's most influential stars, Kevin Nash, or Diesel, and Scott Hall, or Razor Ramon, defected to the rival promotion, WCW, lured by the promise of guaranteed contracts and big money. But what happened that night was not a fond goodbye, it was a brazen 90-second act of rebellion, a public execution of pro wrestling's oldest, most sacred rule, kayfabe. This backstage friendship, known as The Clique, had always been the most powerful, protected cabal in the business, and they were about to use their influence for one last shocking display. The unscripted moment arrived after the night's main event, a steel cage match between two members of the Clique, the heel Diesel and the babyface Shawn Michaels. When the match ended, the scene dissolved into anarchy. First, the fan favorite Hall entered to embrace Michaels, standard. Then, the villain, Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who was supposed to be Hall's bitter rival, rushed to the ring. Finally, the four men, two hated villains and two beloved heroes, stood shoulder to shoulder, arms raised, locked in a group hug for the world to see. It was a spectacular corporate killing moment that exposed the deepest secrets of the industry. It's all a work. WWF's management was scandalized, but the damage was sealed by a detail that would define the modern era. A fan had smuggled a camcorder past security. The curtain call footage leaked, turning a house show event into a widely distributed scandal that confirmed to the entire wrestling world that the feuds were fictitious. Nash and Hall were gone, and Michaels was the WWF champion, making them untouchable. The weight of the world fell solely on the shoulders of the youngest and most vulnerable member of the group, Triple H. The corporate machine demanded a sacrifice. Triple H was severely punished, demoted from his impending main event push. The prize that was stripped from him, the 1996 King of the Ring tournament victory, was handed to the rising mid-card heel named Stone Cold Steve Austin. This single decision, born from corporate vengeance, inadvertently ignited Austin's explosive rise towards superstardom and sparked the WWF's revolutionary Attitude Era. In a profound twist of irony, the reckless act that broke the rules ultimately forced Vince McMahon to embrace the meta storytelling that would save his company from the rival promotion that had lured away two men who had started the fire. Triple H, by taking the fall without complaint, paid the price and, in doing so, quietly earned the respect and paved his future path to industry dominance. Thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. It was a little depressing, especially back to back, but still, it's good wrestling content. If you liked Dark Side of the Ring, if you were a fan of the True Hollywood Story type stuff, I think you'd enjoy what you just heard. Hopefully you did. If you want more of it, definitely check out the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@MarksOnMedia. You can also check it out on Rumble. It's rumble.com/C/main event marks. You can also check out the Marks on Media channel there. It's /C/Marks on Media. Go check that out. I will try to do a new one here soon. I've got 3 episodes planned for the future. I just haven't recorded them yet, but they're coming up, and I'll probably put them up in podcast form shortly after that. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but stay tuned. I will post a new episode for sure, hopefully on time this time, next Wednesday. I'll be more prepared. But anyway, thank you for joining. We will see you all later.